What's up, guys? It's Sunday, April 9th, 2023. Want to look at the market going into the next week. So let's see real quick what we have coming up. I got some news. And of course, as I always say, the news doesn't matter. The charts tell you before the news comes out. But as we also know, with the Fed, they can really move the markets. And what they do is they wait for the news to move the markets so that they can blame the news on the market. But they already have a plan in place. So that's why we follow charts, so we can try to figure out what the plan is for these market makers. I apologize for the noise on my fan again. Just going to keep apologizing every week. So let's get into it. Market watch, we've got Monday, not a whole lot, nothing. Expect some chops sideways, some upward mobility, upward movement. Hopefully you guys can make enough money to get some upward mobility. Let's look at Tuesday. We got some Fed stuff, some speaking, but really nothing major. Wednesday, CPI before the market. So we'll deal with that here in just a few. CPI, and then also Federal Reserve, FOMC minutes, Treasury budget, and FOMC minutes coming out at the same time. Will be interesting to see what that does. So Wild Wednesday, expect both ways. Probably up in the morning, hopefully up in the morning. And then if we don't get a move at 2 o'clock, expect Thursday morning to be an opposite move of CPI. So if we get an up move and then nothing, expect a down move. If we get an up move and a down move, then I don't know. We'll just play it by ear. But I've got a secret tool that's going to help us. It's not a secret because I'm going to tell everybody. And then Friday, some other bogus news. But so we have the potential to move the market. Let's see, whatever this is, don't even care. 6 o'clock in the morning, look for a turnaround Tuesday. So Monday, there's nothing, so probably a chop and move higher. Tuesday, might see a turnaround a little bit. I would guess, let's say Monday, let's go up. Tuesday, let's go down. Wednesday morning, before the market opens, they'll run up so that nobody can get in it. And then Tuesday afternoon, probably nothing. And then Thursday morning is our return to the bear market. So I keep saying that because we're going into a recession, and you need to make sure that you are in a financially stable place as we go into this, because it's going to last a while. And it's not as easy to make money in a recession as it is in a bull market, because stuff just whips around, and you can't swing trade, you can't do anything. You have to be really in and out, and plus everything just gets more expensive. Everybody's worried, so they don't want to give up their money, and it's just a bad time. But I think we're going into it, because if you look at so I pulled up this chart last week. This chart here is the economy, is the blue line, and then the orange is the market. So if you see, most recently, technology has just been ripping. Nvidia almost at new highs. It's pretty dang close, right? It's almost back to this pivot here. We're already up here. It wouldn't take much to shoot this thing up to 385, 400 on good news. Nvidia, Apple, we're in Apple long right now. Apple's had kind of this downward slope, and they came and retested it and backed off, but they're already going to retest it again, which is pretty bullish. If you see the 50 crossed over the 200, golden cross or whatever you want to call that stuff, it just means it's bullish, right? You've got the RSI is above 50. It's bullish. It's in an uptrend. The MACD, whatever that means, is bullish. It's in an uptrend, right? So there is no reason to short the market at this point. If Apple is bullish, there's no reason to short the market yet. Apple, our target is 176. We had kind of this cup and handle we talked about. They broke it. They came and retested this trend line. They held it on Wednesday, and then Thursday they gapped down, but we bought that dip. Because we were looking at like the hourly chart. This is a pretty bullish candle right here, or even the 4-hour chart. Yeah, here we go. The 4-hour chart. It was all it was just a retest of the 54-hour. Right? This was support. I know I got a lot of stuff on my charts, but this was support. This is going to be support. Until it's resistance, it's going to be support, if that makes any sense. So we're back above the trend line, the cup and handle trend line. We're back above the 50. We know that's support. So just look for a continuation higher. 176 is our target for that. Trying to take out this weekly high. And also, what else makes sense is a 50% move. So, or a 100% move from the low. So you got a cup and handle right here. You take the low down here was 144 to 160. So you want to look for an equal move higher from that point. So 160 to 176 would be a 100% move from the low of the cup and handle. Wouldn't be hard to do in just a few days if they just melt up 3 or 4 days. So we're still in Apple long. I think I closed some short-term calls on Friday or Thursday, just because I was worried about over the weekend news. But we're still bullish. Any dips back to this support area, 164, 163.80, buy that, and should go higher. Apple, so technology, discretionary, that's like stuff that people buy when they think times are good. Communication services, we saw Google RIP. They did the same idea. They were a little bit weaker. They had a cup and handle here, and they broke out on Thursday. So you could play some short-term Google calls if we get a retest of 107, move to 113. Ultimately, your target is going to be so if this is 50%, somewhere around here. Anyway, your 100% move is 127. Let's put a line there, and then let's look left and see if that's important. So, yeah, look at this. 127, 127, 127, 127, 127. They're going to run a test of 127. Google, 127. So back to this. So these are the stocks that are bullish going into a recession. So as the market is, the economy is going into a full recession, these stocks are going up. Communication, technology, discretionary. Industrials, let's just look at the industrial stock. Dow Jones, Dow Industrial Average. As you can see, they have a double test of this trend line. They broke out. They tested it once here. They tested it twice. They're making a bull flag. They're going to break it and go higher. Industrials are going higher. If Dow is going higher, SPY is going higher. We have SPY's going higher. Google, Facebook, Netflix, Alphabet, Disney, Verizon are all going to be going higher, right? So you want to be in the strongest sector of stocks. Well, we know technology's kind of already burnt out. Nvidia could move up to 400, but for the most part, they're overly extended. So let's look at communication stocks and industrials coming up next. If we have any earnings coming up, do we have any earnings coming up? Yeah, look at that. Netflix. Let's play calls on Netflix for earnings on whatever day that is, 18th. There's a lot of gaps to fill here. If they start to pull back, look for calls and fill this gap. 510. That would be a heck of an earnings play. If they get up to this gap before then, because they are above the 50, so they could just bounce, and they're on support. Netflix is going to go higher. It's going to retest 380, right? Because the whole stock market is all about, remember, the whole stock market is just retesting levels to see if people are still there. That's the whole stock market. That's all it is. Testing to see where people are, where their orders are. So let's say Monday, Netflix is probably going to be pretty bullish because we've got above the 50 here. It's been support every time. We gap below it, so it's kind of chopped, but now we're back above it. Now we put in one of these, whatever actual traders call I don't know, crucifix hammer, whatever it's called. It's just a higher low is all it is. So Netflix calls, 342 calls, and you can hold it up here to 360 if you wanted to do Netflix, NFLX. So any of these, Netflix, what's Activision doing? ACTI. I don't remember what the ATVI, Activision. That one's interesting. Not sure what the news was on that one. That might just have to flag for a while. I'm not sure I would play that one. Let's just ignore that one for now. You can watch it. A break over this would send it up to here again. 92 if you want to play that one. ATVI, but I'm not really interested in that. Then what else do we got? So industrials is Dow Jones. COMM. Energy is, as we're coming out of recession, stuff like oil stocks go back up. So it would be a little early for that because, again, we haven't gotten to the bottom of the recession yet. This doesn't mean the stock market goes up while we're going into a recession. This just means these stocks typically do well. They outperform the rest of the market. So we want to be in stocks that outperform, especially if we're in an uptrend. These are going to lead the market. Nvidia has led the market, right? Probably not going to go into this. Probably not going to go into that. Let's look at my thing that I've been using. So the S&P, let's talk about this for a minute. We are still in a bear trend, right? It's a bear flag in a bear market. $4,300. This area right here would be important. You got a pivot right here. Keep an eye on that area. That's going to be the top, and then we'll likely pull back from there. But until then, we cannot be bullish. We cannot be bearish long term yet, because as of right now, we have a low, high, higher low, higher high. Barely, but we do have a higher low. The expectation would be a rerun a test of this number, which will give us a higher high at 4,300, and then we can start seeing a reversal lower. So let's look at So this is S&P. The reason I got a line here, if you go out to the monthly chart, you can kind of see this has been this is your bear flag pattern, right? This whole area has been resistance. And if you look, we've got, every time we close above this line, we sell off, right? So we closed above it, we sold off. Closed above it, sold off. Got above it, sold off, right? Got back to it, next month, sold off. Got back to it, sold off. We broke it, we got above it, that's why we're a little bullish right now. And then we closed above it. So the question is, was this the igniting candle, monthly candle, that can break this area and can send us back up? Because it was on large volume, larger than other volume, right? We had larger volume, which is usually a signal of a reversal. So it's very possible that that was the bottom, and we've broken out, and we can just continue higher. So right now we're above it, but from a normal expectation, you would say every time they close above this line the next month, they eventually sell off. These are monthly candles, right? So we're at the beginning of the month. We've got an entire month to spike it, put in a higher high, and then close below the line, right? And it would yet again be another failed breakout, and they only break out so many times before they just eventually fail. And we're also getting tighter, as you can see. We've kind of had big swings, and they're getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and then eventually they're going to break out one way or the other. But we are getting tighter, right? So let's look at ES. Here's what I wanted to talk about tonight. I'm gonna play this on Fed days. We've got FOMC coming up on, or not FOMC, but we got minutes, and we've got CPI minutes and PPI on Thursday. And I got this thing called Bookmap, and this tells you where the orders are. Live feed of ES orders, right? We talked about last week, 4,100 was a major area. So you can see there's a lot of movement there, a lot of buyers, big area of liquidity. And typically what they want to do is they want to move to areas of large liquidity, because buyers and sellers both want to get in and out. So the red means a lot of people, a lot of liquidity. So we got, here's kind of a line, a darker line, a little bit above 4135 ES. Let's look at this here. 1 hour. Yes. So you've got, clean this up a little bit here. Anyway, wasting time. So you got what did I say, above 4135? So you could say that's an area of liquidity right there, right? Go back in here. So your big ones are 4120 and 4150. So I've got lines at 4120 4100. That was our line from last week. And you can see they ran a test, bounced, ran a test, and bounced, right? That's why we were bullish going into the end of the week. 4120. So these people at 4100 probably moved their orders up to 4120. That'll be important here in a second. 4120, if they come back down and they retest it, look for a buy to go higher. 4137 looked like kind of a smaller area, not a whole lot. So the next one up would be 4150, which we have a line at 4150. You can tell that's a large area of liquidity, buyers and sellers. This one, there's 4137. You can argue that's a liquidity area. They spent some time there, right? 4120 is obviously an area of liquidity. They spent some time there. So let's move. If we get all the way down to 4120, look for a rip back to 4150. And then if you zoom out a little bit, you see you got a new guy that just showed up. He's starting to put some orders in. See, this guy's getting stronger now. 4137 is getting stronger. So that's interesting. Watch them pop up here. They're going to run a test, right? The whole market is running tests of areas to see if there's still buyers. So by the time this video is over, I bet you they're going to be at 4137. So we got this new guy at 4175. That's interesting because that would be above our most recent breakout or most recent high. 4175 is the seller. Let's look left and see if that's important. Oh yeah. Hey, that was probably a Fed day. That was probably Fed news. What do you want to bet on Fed day? They're going to be at 4175. Wednesday, right? So that was pretty important. Every time they got above 4175, they sold off. They sold off, right? They got above it and they sold off hard, sold off hard, sold off hard. So let's expect another sell-off at 4175. But we can't be overly bearish yet, right? But that is going to be a target. 4175 is going to be a target this week that they will very likely get to, which would be our 414 area, I think. We're in 414 calls. That would make sense. So this is interesting. Book map, I think it's like $100. I think I spent $100 on this. I don't remember. But I kind of bought it just to see what it does during Fed day. So you've got kind of a larger guy at 4175, 4187, and 4200. They're barely there. But I would guess if we got all the way up to 4200, these guys are going to drop the market. 4175 is our ultimate target higher this week. For right now, we'll check this every day and see where the buyers and sellers are. See if this guy's they're moving. So here's what's important. Last thing to talk about, and then I'll just real quickly cover our stock watch list again. So you can see these guys, 4100. There's no orders there anymore, right? There's pretty much nothing. It's all at 4120. So all these guys that bought the market at 4100, they've moved their orders to 4120. So let's look into the future here, and let's say, okay, Monday morning they start to pop and then they fail all the way down to 4120. They're going to rip it back in the other direction. 4150, 4175 is our ultimate target for this week. Let's say they get up there and they say, okay, we got a double top now, arguably a double top. CPI will shoot us to 4175. and then Fed news will chop around and then drop, right? What happens if they drop to 4,100? What happens if they break 4,120? There's nothing there, right? That's the whole point of bouncing early. If they bounce early, if they don't fail to get to a number, like look right here, 4150, this guy. We said there's a seller at 4150, right? Major seller at 4150. So what do? They shoot it up and then drop it before they get there. That causes this guy to start to panic because he's saying, hey, I didn't get out, but the market's already dropping. I need to sell. So they panic sell. They're panic selling, right? He's lowering his orders lower and lower and lower. So now he's lowered his number from 4150 to 4136. Seller, panic. So what happens? They come to this 4120 and they get up here and he's not there anymore. So they can go higher. So if you bounce early, that means they're going to go higher. If they come up short of a number, then they're going to go lower. Because see here, they came into it and they bounced. They came into it and they bounced, came into it, bounced. But if they come into it early, if they only pull back to, let's say, right here, so these guys move their orders up and they push it up, right? And they get all the way up here and then they start to sell, there's not going to be anybody here anymore. And so they can just fall right through it. And likely they're going to come back to this 3980, 4,000 area, which would be a double top. Would be a pretty sick move, 200-point move. We were expecting a 200-point move last week, and we didn't get it. They're just chopping, so they had to get these buyers out, right? If you can see on the daily, I know I mark up my charts way too much, but we're overextended into resistance right now. That doesn't mean we can't get more extended, but look for a double top, a break of this area, and then this seller is going to come back in. This seller is going to come back in. This seller is going to come back in. All these guys, this seller is going to come back in. They're going to pop it and they're going to kill it. That'll be a nice move. But for Monday, let's look to long some communication stocks. Google. Google to 113, ultimately up to 127. Meta. That is considered a communication stock. It's been bullish. It hasn't even come in to test the 50 yet, so expect a move to 250, round number 250. On earnings, they could spike it big time. That's not for a while though. But long Meta into the beginning of next week for a continuation higher. And then Apple, we're still long Apple. Same thing, 176.30. That doesn't mean to short it there. That just means that's where their target is. Let's look at Disney and see. Disney would be a communication now and also a discretionary. So check this out. If they get over the 200, they can spike it. That'd be a pretty big move. 100 to 109. So over 100, look for a move to 109. Disney. That could be a really good stock for next week. Long. All these are long. If I was going to short anything, we would move backwards. So technology is doing well, discretionary is doing well, financials already ate the best. Real estate will be a short. Look at real estate. So check this out. We've got a downward trend. They got above it here, chopped around, and ultimately failed. Now they're retesting it, and look how they're retesting this line. Like, they're literally on it. It's still a valid trend line. It's not broken yet, even though it should be, because all this junk, right? It should be. So watch for a pop higher. They could even get up to 87, and then you could short housing down to 71. I don't know why I got a line down there. It'd be a lower low. Oh, right here. So that'd be a large area of liquidity, is down here in the 70s. So look to short housing. If we get back above this trend line, look for a sell-off. V and Q, that's housing. Anything housing related. See, this one's right below the 50. So you can see a pop and then get a rejection at the 200, REIT. And we can go short on the days that the market does pull back. If instead of SPY, you can short other things that are already bearish, right? And get another retest of this area, 2000. Anyway, that's my ideas for this week. Let me know if you have any questions. If you have questions about this thing, I don't know any answers. All I know is red means that's where they're going to go. So 4120, 4150, 4175. There's not much really above that yet. So, and then again, there's nothing at 4100 anymore. So if we get below 4100, look for a pretty big move down to 3900. I don't know how far. Yeah, 39 right here, this guy above 3950, 3900. Anyway, calls for the first few days, and then when we get to extended, after our 414 SPY calls print, look for a short somewhere around here, maybe this gap fill, 421.50, all the way up to 432.70. Look for a short somewhere in here, because even though, I mean, it's a higher high, but it's a bear flag ultimately. So they're going to come run a test up here, and then they're going to fail. Whatever. We'll see how that works. See ya.